My dad was very funny. He was a very funny person. He was like, he'd always say that if you like asked him like, how old are you? He'd always say he's 7 years old. He'd just joke all the time. He was very adventurous. He'd take us camping. We went loads of camping holidays. He'd take us fishing. He wanted to go like here and there and take us all over. Very into his history as well. So he liked to go like a place like that, you know, kind of teach us about that stuff. A lot of like quality time was just at home with him. We just did so much things with him because he was just a big kid. Like that was just him as a person. So he'd just want to do what we'd want to do. He'd want to go on the roller coaster, he'd want to go in the water park, he'd want to, you know, play with us and stuff. So that was just him. So that's why so much quality time is just doing just little things like that, like playing a board game. Because I was so young, and obviously I'm the oldest, it was quite covert, it was quite hidden. And then as I got a bit older, you could see that he'd go through like waves. So it'd be like, you know, top of the tree, he'd be wanting to do everything one day, want to do this and that, and like really just happy. And then the next day you just wouldn't see him at all. Like as kids, I never experienced him like ever having a breakdown or anything like that. And then there was one morning and we were all getting ready for school and I was the first one to go downstairs and I could hear him, obviously he was crying, he was breaking down, and we'd never experienced it before, so obviously we had to get my grandparents in and we had to wake my mum up and sort it out. But for kids it was so like shocking to see. I remember like Christmas time that year and stuff, and that was fine and that was normal, but it was just every like day-to-day life. He was just not, it wasn't him. It wasn't the dad that I'd grown up with, that wasn't him, it was just someone else. It was like he just wasn't there. Because this behaviour, because of how he acted in the past year, this behaviour was so normal to see. So I just carried on, you know, with my day. I was going out that night actually, I was going to a party, so I was at my one of my best friend's house, and then I got a phone call and it was my granny, and I was like, you know, hi, like what's up? And she was like, I don't think she wanted to tell me what had happened to him, but she just said about how he'd driven off somewhere. I was told that he had gone to hospital and that it was, you know, really serious. And he was in the ICU for 3 days, I think, because they had to see if he were going to get better, if he were going to start breathing on his own. And I think there was like a tiny bit of improvement, but not enough that he would like have recovered. And then it was April 20th, that was the day when they turned the machines off. Bereavement via suicide is really different because it's the big why, because there was no why, and this obviously still is no why. And that's like, because obviously if you've got someone who's really ill and they're ill for a long period of time and then they die, you know like why they died. Or you've got someone who, you know, reach old age and then they die. It's like, oh, well, they lived a long life. But this one, it's like, well, why did you do that? And it's really hard to like kind of like navigate, because at one point you feel really angry and then you feel guilty because you feel angry, and it's really difficult, it's really strange. The first thing you think is like, what could I have done? You know what I mean? And when I think back to it, I think like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this, but it wouldn't have stopped him. And that's the bottom line. Just, you know, reach out to places like Luke's Lads, like, you know, there's Andy's Mum Club, there's, support nets, because that's for, it's like other people that relate, and therefore you feel comfortable, talking about it. You only need to be able to speak to one person, and then it can go from there, and that's all you have to do is open up, and obviously it's easier said than done, but that is the starting point, and then from there, that is what happens, when you go to different places where you have a support net. What you are doing is you are talking, and that's, it's the biggest help, because you're speaking to other people who absolutely get it, and they know what you're going through, and they understand it, and therefore you can get everything out, because keeping it in, bottling it up until it gets to this point, it's, what good does it do for anyone? Just talk about it. Sorry, I'm gonna.
Right, so this is the second of 3, but I've just realised that if I do my third one tonight, that's the 25 done, and I want to make a big fandango about it.
Oh my god.
So I'll just do this one, and I'll do one tomorrow. And
in fancy dress?
Eh?
In fancy dress?
Yeah, I'm going to put my fez on.